Ageless Energy Radio. How to feel 22 at any age. Would you like to feel young and vibrant regardless of your age? Never have to call in sick again. Be laser focused and productive all day long. Stop feeling stressed out by your life. Stay calm and confident no matter what. Go to bed feeling peaceful and wake up energized? Ageless Energy is healing your self-generating energy systems through the renewal of your body, mind, and spirit for complete wellness without artificial stimulants or medication. Would you listen? Anyone who wants to feel young, ageless, and productive, regardless of their years. Join your host, Dr. Chandler George, as we explore your mind, body, spirit to feel 22 at any age.
Hey, this is Dr. Chandler George of Ageless Energy. How to feel 22 at any age. How to heal your self-generating energy systems through the renewal of your mind, body, and spirit. And today I have my good friend and somebody I work with on a daily basis as well, Chris Scappatura. Chris, welcome.
How are you doing, Chandler?
I'm doing awesome, sir. How are you up in there in Canada?
Well, feeling great as always. Crisp morning, but all is well up here.
Well, Chris, you have a phenomenal background in everything from a cappella music that I know about to sales, to professional speaking, to running a myriad of multiple businesses over the last 25, 30 something years. Tell me what you would want the audience to know about that would affect their energy from your vast background, because your background is so vast. And for everyone who wants to know more about Chris, we will have that in the notes after the podcast so that you can see a lot of his very background. But Chris, what do you think the highlights are for our audience today?
Well, I've been speaking in the dental industry and involved with it for over 20 years, which has been a lot of fun. Spoke at every major dental convention at least once, if not 3 times. Was involved with practice management coaching quite a bit over the years. That's been an awesome ride. And then on the other side of things, I've been quite a bit involved with sales and marketing, and again also coaching that. So it's been a lot of fun. The most fun I have, though, you're right, Chandler, it has to be the singing. Recently was in the studio again, getting ready for our second album, and we'll be touring in the fall in Germany. So yeah, life's good.
So it sounds like, Chris, if we were to talk to do with the mind, body, spirit, that something that's on a higher plane for you or that resonates to you to keep you running, obviously at Mach 5 with your hair on fire and doing all the incredible things you do, I don't think you sleep, that when you do something that's relaxing for you, it seems to be the singing and somehow the music and the harmony and the frequency must resonate with your heart and soul. Can you explain a little bit how you think all that works for you? I mean, I know you've done this, broken down how your singing is much more than just singing because you enjoy it, that it really it's kind of your core being. It's one of the reasons that makes you so great at everything else, I believe. Can you expound upon that?
Well, it's got to go back 30 years ago. I had somebody sort of knock on my door and ask me if I wanted to go out and sing, and I kind of chuckled and I thought, no, that's not for me. But I went anyways. I was just kind of, I'm not so much an introvert, but when people always say, "Hey, I would never want to speak in public." I said, "Well, try singing in public." So I was a little nervous the first time, but I went, and it was just different. You got in there, and the harmony, you just forgot that you actually did anything else in life. And then a couple of years later, a guy says, "You can't be angry and singing at the same time," and it is so true. And generally, Mondays are a very compressive day for me. They're the launch day for the week, as many people for business. And so the day starts about 5:30 for me, and I go till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's a hard pull. But about 2:30, I head out the door and I go to my first of 2 rehearsals generally in the day with the quartet. And by the time I get to rehearsal, we warm up, and all of a sudden you become immersed. And it really is a total switch in mindset and skill set. And what I find is that that immersion releases a lot of the stress from the day. And we can talk about good and bad stress forever. But really there's that element of, and I keep going back to the word immersion. You are immersed in working on the skill. So for us, it's the story. And then so how are we portraying that song through story? How are we positioning ourselves within the quartet? How are we creating the harmonies that the audience will enjoy? And then how do we make it all look like it's seamless and effortless so the audience isn't distracted by that? So all of that, somebody would say to me, my gosh, you're causing more stress in your life. And it's the exact opposite, because there's such a love affair with the harmony for me and the gentleman that I sing with, that we feel that need to create a higher skill set each time we get together. And the result is, of course, a fantastic presentation of the song. We recently were at an event, and people were coming up afterwards asking, hey, it sounded like there was a band behind you, but it's all a cappella. And so that then in itself is a real driving force. And at the end of the day, we finish rehearsing. We sit back. There's some camaraderie. We just sit around and chat about what we had accomplished that day. And so a sense of community. And then generally I go to a second rehearsal, which is with a larger group of men. And of course, again, there's sense of community and the harmony. And then it ends generally, believe it or not, about 8 hours later, I make my way home. And I need a little bit of time to decompress because I'm so hyper from that experience. And then it sets me up for a good week. But one other thing to keep in mind is it's not just one day. Every morning for about a half an hour to 45 minutes, I rehearse, just reminding myself of what we had worked on Monday and preparing to be at a higher level, the Monday that's coming.
You said a bunch of key information there that I want people to get. And, you said immerse several times, which makes me think of the word transcendent. You get into that zone and you get so immersed that the other word that you said was time stands still. And when time stands still, to me, that's ageless energy, because how can you age and feel old and tired and wore out and all this when time stands still? When you're somewhere in time, like that old movie with Christopher Reeves, I watched multiple times because I'm a sappy romantic, but it's transcendent and it's a story. You said you're telling a story, and so they think there's a live band behind you when there's not, and you take people to another place. And so not only does time stand still, literally they're in their happy place, and it's not of this world anymore. It's somewhere else. And we all need more entertainment, and we all need to go someplace else where the frequencies and the scientific biorhythms and everything of our body are in their happy place. And you have the ability of getting with your other three friends and others, and working, and in the process of your work, you're able to feel that way. And then in the process of serving and giving to others, you're able to make mass audiences feel that way. And that has to be a phenomenal feeling for you of, staying healthy and feeling great, knowing that not only what you're doing is making you feel good, but it's serving so many other people.
Yes, and the barbershop harmony is specifically what we do. And of course, there's a jazz and different formats. And again, you'll need to experience at some point, Chandler. I'll get 3 other people or have you involved if you're a singer. But we do this one thing, and I know this is going to sound incredibly counterproductive in the sense of health, but at about 11 o'clock at night, sometimes at events, people will start to dissipate and they'll head home. But there's a small group of us that will do a format called singing tags. It's just anywhere from 3 to maybe 7 bars of music. And there are masters at this, people who can, who remember countless, 200-300 of these little pieces of them from music. And they're called tags. And so in the barbershop community, what will happen? So Jordan in my quartet, for example, knows hundreds of them. And there's other men that I've stood with that do the same thing. And that transcending feeling happens when we sing these tags. They're 4-part harmony. You stand very close to each other in a box, and you're taught these notes right there and then we perform pretty much for ourselves, but for anybody who happens to be listening. And that activity creates such an energy. Everybody who's listening to this should take that experience, or should have that opportunity for that experience. And what it does, it could be 11 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden we'll look at our watches. It'll be 3 o'clock in the morning. And then we'll say, okay, just one more. And the energy is so intense, we will look at our watches again, and it will seem that 2 minutes passed, and it'll be 6 o'clock in the morning. And then we'll make the decision that, you know what, we might as well just go on here for a few more hours and go to breakfast. And I can't tell you how many times I have started singing tags. It literally transports you into another world, and time does not matter. Your joy of creating this sound becomes paramount with the other three men that you will stand with for hours on end. Like for you, if I said to you, Chandler, we're going to stand for the next 8 hours, you would say, oh, my legs are going to be exhausted. If I'm going to say, hey, and you're going to use your voice continuously for the next 8 hours, you'd say, oh, it would be hoarse. And the funny thing is, whether you do 2, 3, 6, 7, or that marathon of 8 hours, when you're done singing, it's only because something else happens to be done at that point. You're not ever done singing. So, yeah, I absolutely love it. It's something that just thinking about the fact that I'm going to be doing it again in a few days gets me all excited.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I get a smile because, I think about standing 8 hours and talking, and it makes me think of trade shows. And you and I have done a lot of those. And it's like, I like trade shows, but, it's pretty tough, to say the least. And then singing and it not feeling tough, because you're in a transcendent mode and your body and your frequency and your harmony. And, it's where every cell in your body resonates with your happiness and your core being and your heart and your chakras. And I think that's what y'all are doing is you're putting out incredible energy, but because you're in such frequency with the rest of your mitochondria and your cells in your body, it gives you energy. It doesn't take energy. It gives you energy. And of course, anytime I can stay up and have a breakfast, I'll definitely sing a little longer to have a really good breakfast with my buddy friends. Cause that's even more energy, isn't it?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I can't think. Now, here's what we're going to have to do before we go to the health piece of this show on you today is, I hope you can sing me a tag because you set yourself up for singing a tag here.
Oh, well, you know what? Maybe we'll put it. I need 3 other parts because and it's too bad. If I would have known better, I would have had these guys with us here today. But what we'll do is we'll probably try to send something out maybe as a bonus to everybody. There are literally thousands of these produced, but at some point maybe you know what? Here's what we'll do. We'll tell everybody who's listening. Try to get to one of our events, and I'm sure I'll be able to find 3 other people who will come in, or at the very least, we'll figure out some way for people to hear these tags because it literally will transform you. Your ears won't believe. And the other thing that happens with tags, well, now you get me all excited here, is that we taught this last week at a seminar we call Team Harmony, where we help corporations and even small entrepreneurs with small groups create a better work environment through harmony. And we actually got off the mics and stood there and sang a tag. And we always try to point out that, because those 4 voices sing so harmoniously, perfectly together. I wouldn't say perfect. That's pushing. I don't want to be that guy. But it actually creates other levels. So you hear other notes, overtones and undertones. And so the sum of the parts become greater as a unit when we create this harmony. And that is the goal at every moment when we are singing these tags. So there's so many layers to what we experience in that world and unfortunately we can't do tags all night because we have other music that we have to learn to be able to perform for shows that are coming up. But in a perfect world, I would sit and sing tags nonstop all the time. So it really does feed the soul, and of course the whole idea of singing itself. Even if I'm doing karaoke at home or at an event, it's something I definitely want to start doing at our Catchfire events. Is bringing karaoke, and it's just a lot of fun.
So you opened up so many things there, and this is why I love you, Chris. When we're here talking, is we lead to so many other things. Yes, we don't have notes. We don't need notes. We just take off and run, and magic happens. And so Chris is providing some sparkles here. So Chris, first off, I want to know where your events are, a couple of them, and we'll put them into the show notes for everybody throughout the world, and how they can get a hold of you. I want you to tell us that here in just a second, and we'll have it in the notes as well with some links. And then also, is there any way I can like bribe you, even though it's just you, to provide some sort of musical class or musical teaching even at our next event, which I've never asked you before, but I think it's real important for the people that we do work with in our Catchfire coaching groups to experience that. Would you mind doing that at some point?
Oh, absolutely. It's been 30 years of learning.
Yeah, well, how fun is it going to be? Because see, it's obviously helped make you actually more successful. And I think it will everyone in our group, because it's another part of your brain. And of course, you're very gifted with it. And I think that's huge. The other thing is, I got a feeling you're going to have a fan base here from everyone that downloads this on the Ageless Energy podcast. And I want them to realize that you really are happily married and have kids, and they can't, come and date you and stuff.
No. Yeah, 30 years. Actually, 30 years coming up shortly. Actually, in less than 10 days, I will celebrate 30 years with Elizabeth, which is awesome. And the quartet name is Supertonic. Supertonicqt.com, I think, is where we're at right now. We're also on Facebook. So it's neat. The quartet does go out corporately right across North America. So if anybody's listening and wants to have a real hot group who can actually teach their organization something, that'd be great. And I think people should come down to the upcoming events that we have with Catchfire Coaching, and we'll teach you what I know about music. I mean, you never stop learning, but there have been a lot of instances where I have had an experience with great coaches. Actually, just to sort of put an aside in here, this current quartet has 3 primary coaches and several part-time coaches. So we have a vocal coach, we have a presentation and story coach, we have an ensemble coach, we have a music coach, so the actual music itself, the structure of the music, and then we have a sound and engineering coach, someone who helps us with the sound. I know it sounds like these are similar, but they are not. And one man in particular is with us almost every week as our coach, because, we're in the sound, we're creating the sound. And so I always like to draw that parallel that in my life as a coach, I have coaches. I've had several coaches over the years. And so creating that harmony just doesn't happen by 4 parts. It requires the use of other people's ears, other people's eyes, to help us create this. So together, as a group of people, we create this amazing harmony. So a little bit of a tangent there, but worthwhile saying. But I'll gladly coach anybody at the event on a little bit of singing. Maybe put on a half-hour masterclass of some sort. That'd be great.
Awesome. And guys, the next event is June 9th, 2017, here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Yeah, just get a hold of us and support at catchfirecoaching.com, And of course, this one time only. If you've never been to one of our events, this one time you can actually come if you'll subscribe to this podcast and download it and provide a screenshot that you did, which will save you a few $100s on the actually admission. And trust me, just Chris alone is worth thousands of dollars, and you'll get much more than that. So I would love for you to come if you'd like to come, and you're a big believer in what we're trying to accomplish here, because Chris and I are really about changing the world and doing much bigger things in our life at this stage in our life. And I know he's got a fabulous family. He's got grown kids, got a daughter getting married. I realize his family really is his Ageless energy, having spent some time with him in New York City recently during a blizzard, which we managed, Chris, to have fun anyway, didn't we? So,
we did. Yeah, we did, without boots.
We ate our way through New York. Oh, yeah, without boots. I still got stains on my tennis shoes. I think they're still frozen in the corner. They're still now, Chris, on another note, as we end the podcast, just because I wanted to touch it, because yours was pretty prophetic, I thought, is that, for someone who's got a 6-pack of abs all the time and in his 50s and looks all ripped and cut and has massive energy, you had a little bit of a health scare. Would you, to whatever you're comfortable with, of course, like to share some of that?
Sure. So I had taken a few years off my annual physical. I switched doctors up here and took a bit of time to get back in to get a physical. And I went in February of this year, did the blood test, hey, that's good and whatever. I didn't think too much about it. And two very significant numbers came back very high. Again, the numbers are measured differently in the U.S. and Canada, so I'm just going to say that my cholesterol number, if it should have been at 1, we'll just use that as a number. These not true measurements now. I'm just giving you an idea. Say 1.5 to 1.8 would have been extreme. So mine was sitting over 5, which was basically a walking death wish, which was kind of crazy. And the doctor was quite alarmed and even surprised that I was still upright. On the other side, there was the double-edged sword of iron. My iron was at an alarming level also, so much so that they sent me to the hospital to have my insides sort of scanned to see if any of my organs had suffered any damage. So it's interesting to think that, we hear often about men in their early 50s that drop dead from a heart attack. And so this sort of led me to think, okay, this is all making sense. So we made a significant shift overnight. And then again, I know a lot of people may not have that mindset, but it's interesting when somebody tells you you're going to die from something, I would hope most people would make that shift. And that being said, there are many men that I have now shared this story with one-on-one, and they're on medication and not seeing results, but yet, they're still eating the wrong food. So with the help of my wife, Elizabeth, overnight, I made a decision to dramatically change my food consumption. I did several very important changes to help reduce iron intake. The only way really to get rid of the iron is for me to actually go and donate blood. But now that number is quite acceptable. It's come down quite a bit. And the cholesterol number, because of the changes, dropped 2 points basically in 2 months. And now we're a few more months in, so I expect that they have improved even more. But it was funny. I went to the doctor after the 2-month test to see how I was doing, and he was ready to give me medication, which I'm not much of a fan of, and I immediately said, no, I'm not giving you the prescription. Keep doing what you're doing. And there are countless things that I've done and changed. And Chandler, if you want me to get into that, I can't, but I can absolutely for you. But yeah, it's made a massive change in lifestyle. I was an ice cream guy every day and a bunch of things like that. But
well, wait a minute. I mean, Chris, one important thing down here in the States, we had a big alert the other day that the Whataburger stock dropped, and I think it had a lot to do with you.
Yeah, no more. I haven't had red meat since February. I'm not saying good or bad about it. That's not my place to do that, but it's just the iron and the cholesterol that was available in both of those. Elizabeth had suggested, we just stop that. So we're into fish. I'm eating more legumes. It's just been a total switch. I'm using psyllium every day. I'm consuming that.
Well, how do you feel? And do you feel even better than your amazing self before? I mean, what have you noticed other than lab results?
The one major change would be that I'm popping out of the bed even faster than I used to. And I popped out of bed relatively quickly. I mean, I've never really sat in bed, but I'm pretty much hit the ground running now, and then I mean running. And it's an earlier, easier start, generally anywhere between 5:30 and 6. The other thing that doesn't happen is I do not rest in the middle of the day. I used to nap. Now, depending on the workload, if I've been out in the garden significantly and in the sun and things like that, and I've pushed hard, again, it's a relative thing what I will get done in a day versus maybe someone else. But I might rest. But in a general sense, because the diet, again, going back to Elizabeth, has become so consistent and has very little sugar in it, there aren't high and lows like that, and I don't find myself needing to recoup energy by having to rest. That being said, by 10:30, I'm also ready to sleep, and I sleep soundly through till I wake up. But I'd say the energy is probably at a much higher level, which is for some people who know me kind of impossible to believe. But it's also having to rein it in a bit too, Chandler. I'm also learning not to exhaust others. So to put in perspective, the energy is at such a magnitude that I'm now having to learn how to manage myself over again on not exhausting others. So that gives you an idea of just how much energy there is. So it's great. Weight, I dropped 19 pounds. I mean, you know me, you knew me in January and would say I looked fit, but I am quite lean now. It's just great. I'm always going around telling everybody about this now. I'm one of those people who was loving ice cream, loving sugar, and not consuming them at all at this point.
Well, and so thank you very much for sharing that personal story. And I definitely want you to share more, but only at our events where we know who the people are we're personally talking to one-on-one when you're sharing something so personal that could change and affect their lives. And I think this is more than enough information to dramatically affect men and women's lives, which is what it's all about. But, Ageless Energy is how to heal, which you're doing, your self-generating energy systems, which is your cells, which you're doing through the renewal of your body, mind, and spirit, with your music and changing your diet and everything is done. So I'm just excited to have a personal relationship with you, especially closer in this last year, to see you undergoing, taking these techniques and opportunities to a whole nother level from somebody who was already gifted and talented and able to do things at a whole nother level, that you had enough of a wake up call that now you can be your higher and best self and even reach a higher potential, which we didn't think was possible from before, but now we realize it is. So how exciting is that?
Yeah, and don't wait for somebody to tell you that you have a disease or that you're not well or you're not healthy. That was my mistake, and I'm just go now and do this. There's my last closing remarks are I'm going to honor a friend of mine who passed away this week and was diagnosed several years back with cancer. And some people we know they'll take that diagnosis and just roll over and wait. And he did not. He created Ageless Energy in his life by making good choices. And he beat the odds for many, 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 many years. But the advice that I gave him weeks after he was diagnosed, we were sitting in a room full of men aged from 20 to 90 years old. And I said to him, how fortunate for you, Andrew, to be told that you're going to die. Now you have a choice how to live the rest of your life, and you know that you are going to die, and somebody's told you so. The rest of the men in this room have not been told that, and they live like every day is something that they're supposed to have. Yet they could die tomorrow. And he lived his life to the point that he touched everyone that he met with such energy that it was phenomenal. And I'm grateful that he was with us as long as he was, because I learned many things from that experience. But we all tend to pass through life thinking that we get tomorrow, and we're going to put off to tomorrow those things that we promise ourselves. But I would take care of your health and do like Andrew did and spread happiness through that ageless energy field that he had. But anyways, that's, I guess, the final thing that I'll say.
No, and I sure appreciate that, because it's so true. I mean, if we don't do these things, then death is knocking at all of our doorsteps, and we just don't know when it'll happen, and it won't happen on our terms. And your friend was smart enough and wise enough to say it's going to be on my terms, and to know that. And the truth is, you and I can do that now. We don't have to wait until that happens. And I know, being a doctor myself, I've seen far too many of these sorts of things happen firsthand, to our family, but also to patients. And so this is kind of what Ageless Energy is. It's meant to be transcendent. And so if you're interested in anything, whether it be from Chris, myself, or any of the guest speakers we have, this is about you, and it's about transcending you, your life, for a better you, to the best that we can have. Because Chris and I have been given a gift, and we want to honor that gift by raising up others to the best that we can in mind, body, and spirit, and in a way that we can serve. And because we've been so blessed. And so again, reach out to us. You can go to chandlergeorge.com/ageless-energy-podcast. And you can subscribe right there and get some more information, or again, email us at support@catchfirecoaching.com. And Chris, I want to thank you so much for you giving us your time and honoring us with your stories. And I certainly look forward to speaking with you here on June 9th here in Texas. Woohoo!
Yeah, hopefully I won't be too hot.
Yeah, well, it's going to be hot inside the room because we're in there, even though the AC will be at 68, okay?
There it is. Thanks, Chandler. Take care.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. We'll see you on the next episode.